Is this Tomahawk's video?
No, Comrade Premier, it is our video. We interrupt this program because Tomahawk feels the need to make an overly complicated introduction again. Let's get started already. You plebeians have waited for almost a year. Let's go.
Alright, so I'm just basically going to be using this bush. This bush is a very interesting one. Let me try and explain it if we can get out of the sniper mode. So for some reason, I don't know why this is, but these bushes seem to work.
Let's end this. I'm about to end this man's whole career.
You can go into these bushes and you're going to be pretty safe. Now, if you're in some...
The IS-3 is the next in line of Joseph tanks. This one gets rid of the Scrub Lord flat armor and introduces the expert pike nose that will conclude this line. The IS-3 is a tank that combines decent mobility with decent armor and a hard-hitting gun with decent penetration. All in all, you could state that this tank is pretty decent. Just like your mom. You never angle your armor and try to hide your lower plate. Angling is for square boxes like Germans, and we don't like those. Your aim time is almost as long as Tomahawk's vacations in the gulag. Therefore you do not snipe, but you brawl like a true Slav. Another reason to brawl is that you are virtually blind. You cannot afford to get spotted from long distance, or Swedish sneaky boys ram their 288mm penetration shells right through you, while you don't have a clue what's going on like Pripyat inhabitants when a nuclear reactor explodes. In tier 10 battles you follow your bigger comrades and let the commissars take the lead. You support the motherland by pumping in 390 alpha shells and retreat after firing. In tier 6 battles you just don't give a single bliat and grab all your opponents by the pussy and raffle stomp the Germans back to Berlin. Since your penetration is good enough to face tier 9 and below, this is what you select for ammunition. Lots of AP. Some APC are for people that refuse to accept to see the success of communism, and some AG for premium tank destroyer drivers. Because the IS-3 has its turret sitting quite far in front of the hull, and if you are a real professional, you can use it to reverse side scrape. You have some spaced armor to work with, but be aware that your gun depression will suck, and to not expose your ear end, because IS engines like to burn like RBMK reactor cores. In order to increase your WN8 numbers, this is what you select for equipment. Rammer, so you can ask, can I penetrate you with my 122mm? A gun laying drive to make sure you hit the holes more accurately, and some vents to prevent overheating during the act. This is pretty much how you'll play the IS-3. Let's proceed to tier 9 and see what's up next. Follow me, comrades. Sukabliat. The Object 257 is the next tank in line. With a diamond-shaped hull, it is very valuable on tier 9. This thing has so many angles that it's best for you to not angle at all. It has a watering can on the back of the turret that can collect the tears of your opponents when they bounce off your armor, and to water your garden with to farm damage. Besides being negatively angled inward, the sides have spaced armor as well to let noobs think that they can penetrate easily. This makes it great for side scraping. The mobility is decent enough, even with the stock engine. Like Ivan pimping his Ladaniva, you expose your angled armor to bait shots, but never expose your lower plate or angle your upper plates flat towards your opponents. You play with patience and composure, something which is very hard for the average Russian drunk on homebrewed potato spirits. This is what makes you the true wannabe Unicum. This tank comes with APCR as standard ammunition with great shell velocity, which sometimes makes guided Stalin shots over long distance possible. However, do not use this as your default tactics. Your lower tiered comrades need you on the front lines. Your tank sits pretty high on its tracks, which makes your opponents sometimes even shoot underneath you. Keep collecting those tears in your water canister. You make sure to not overcommit, since your DPM is not high enough, and your reload is longer than most YouTube ads. Once you are too exposed, your opponents will rush you before you even have time to do scorched earth tactics. and you will die without receiving the Hero of the Soviet Union medal, which is considered to be a shame and punishable by Gulag. Which is why Tomahawk has been away for so long. Your APCR penetration is a mere 2mm less than the IS-7, which probably makes this the better tank tier 4 tier. In order to optimize your performance, this is what you select for ammunition. You select about 25 APCR, 10 heat shells, for when the Germans decide to backstab you, and 5 HE for the memes. This thing is prone to losing its ammo rack, so you are best to invest in safe stowage. More on that towards the end of the video. In the meantime, this is what you select for equipment. A rammer to improve derps per minute, a gun laying drive, to improve Stalin guidance and vents, to disperse the alcohol clouds inside your tank, and to improve crew performance. This is how you play probably the most painless of all tanks in this line. After the KV-1, let's check out what the tier 10 has to offer. That finishes off what we started about 2 years ago.
Alright, thumbs up.
Ready, guys?
Let's do this. Leroy Jenkins!
The IS-7 is the final tank in this line, and thereby completes the perfection of this line. Noob friendliness is the keyword you are looking for. Just like any uneducated farm worker in the middle of nowhere that just laid down his hammer and sickle and fired up his potato computer to spend some time in World of Tanks. The IS-7 features pretty okay mobility with a high top speed and engine power. Use this to your advantage to get to advantageous positions early. Your turret is virtually impenetrable, like a virgin wearing Crocs. Your hull again features the pike nose, and you have so much spaced armor on the side that NASA almost thought that Russia won the race to the moon. You can use this to troll your opponents while side scraping. However, never show your lower plate. Always try to bait them shooting your forehead. The gun is where the Soviet commissariat needs to censor the news. It's not great, not terrible. About 3.6 out of 5 stars. The alpha is good, but the penetration is lackluster, and the DPM is so low that British light tanks almost laugh at you. Because everyone has a job, everyone gets the same amount of money, and everybody is equal in the Soviet Union, it is impossible to be depressed. Therefore the gun can also not be depressed so far. Always look on the bright side of life. The wet dream of the IS-7 is a hull down position like this one. The CQB allows your somewhat derpy gun to wreak havoc on the opponents, whereas your DPM does not matter so much, since your armor holds up without a problem. You should however be aware to never be alone. Always have comrade backup, since if you are holding the position alone, you will be surrounded like Field Marshal Paulus at Stalingrad. We all know how that ended. Because of your low penetration on your standard shells, I advise you to invest in some capitalistic skill rounds. You select about 10 AP, 15 APCR, and about 5 HE. No one plays tier 10 to make credits, so follow the masses. It is one big community after all. When played correctly, and you are baiting your enemies to shoot your strongest parts, you can block insane amounts of damage, making it good for completing your heavy tank missions. As well, you can state that time has probably overtaken this tank, and that there are better alternatives out there. However, the original Slav sticks true to its roots. The IS-7 was pretty much here from the start. There is no room for hipsters around here. Object 277. I'm looking at you. In order to still play hard base like a boss, this is what you select for equipment. Surprise, mother lover. A gun rammer for that much needed DPM increase, a gun laying drive to get the bloom smaller quicker, and some vents to increase the overall performance again. It's like Soviet socialist apartment buildings. It doesn't matter if you go to Russia or Poland, the buildings all look the same, just as the equipment loadout is always the same. Deal with it. This is how Joseph would have wanted it. Now, to finally complete this line, let's review the crew skills to top it off. You want your crew members to be part of the CIA, the comrades in arms. Furthermore, you select repairs to keep rolling towards Berlin without your tracks falling off. Then you want safe stowage to prevent your DPM being halved and to limit the risk of a second Chernobyl. This is how you play the IS-7 tech tree. This is the correct way. Go out there and show that communism has never been this much alive. Thank you for your patience, Comrade Commissar. I hope you liked it. Until then, watch some more horse shit on the left or right, and do not hesitate to subscribe to get disappointed. Until then, thank you and fuck off.